What is going on, guys? I'm back today with another video, and today it's not a gameplay. There is gameplay in the background, but it's not about gameplay or anything to do with the game. Actually, it's about a console. It's about the PS5. Just a bit of information I've come across. I've been scouring the internet, as I always do, because that's how I roll. And I've come across some information about the PS5. I didn't even know it was apparently a thing, but apparently it is. So yeah, I mean, come across a lot of websites that have got supposed specs and supposed release dates and stuff like that for the PS5, and I mean, I'm just going to go through some of it now in case you didn't know this was a thing, and let you know some of the stuff that they've said that it might have, or that kind of crap. So let's get started. First thing on the list to talk about, I've actually literally written a list. I've actually literally written a list about what to write about and what to talk about even. And first of all, first thing I found is the supposed price tag of this thing. And we know all consoles are expensive, and new ones that come out, they always have like a hefty price tag. But this one is supposedly going to be $500. And I mean, consoles in recent years, the Xbox One, PS4, all that stuff, even the 360 when it first came out, were not that expensive. They were £200-300 at max. I don't know how that relates to dollars, but for us in the UK it was about £200-300, and yeah, that was still a high amount to pay for a console, especially if you was trying to ask your parents to get you to buy a console, because they just couldn't justify spending that much money on it. And yeah, I mean, to be fair, when I first got my Xbox One it was 470 quid with a game, so that was a bit ridiculous. So I mean, I guess all the PS4 well, PlayStation diehard fans out there will gladly fork out that much money on it. Right, second on my list is the fact that we hope it actually has real 4K, because the PS4 and PS4 Pro claim to have 4K, but everyone knows it's not real 4K, it's just a cheap knockoff. It's not really 4K. It's like 3.5K. I'm making that up. I don't even know if that's the real thing, but that's what I'm saying. I mean, it would be nice to game in 4K, but I mean, obviously you'd need 4K screens and monitors, like TVs, to actually use it. And you can pick up a 4K television for quite cheap now, actually. They're actually going down in price. So by the time this thing releases, if it actually releases, they say the expected date is 2020. So we've still got 2.5 years before this thing actually releases, and by that time 4K is probably going to be what HD is now. I think in the past, because we'll probably have 8K by that time, and it's probably going to be really cheap to buy a 4K TV. So everyone's probably going to have them. Why not? And right, next on my list, hopefully I don't die in game while I'm talking about this, obviously better hardware, that was it, and better graphics, obviously. I mean, right now, there's always a console debate going on about how the Xbox One doesn't look as good as the PS4, but just take a long hard look at yourself, because they do, they're exactly the same. They both have the same amount of RAM, their graphics chips, or whatever you call them, graphics cards, are probably near enough putting out the exact same amount of output. It's just people like having an argument about stuff. People love drama, so there's probably no difference in what they actually look like. I mean, I own both, and I have a PC as well, and I mean, at 60 FPS they all look exactly the same. There's no difference. I don't just mean in frame rate, I mean graphically. They just look absolutely no different, so I don't see why people come up with all this crap about they look completely different when they don't. They look exactly the same. Stop moaning about it. Get over it. Yeah, so obviously better graphics make, I mean, games these days feel real, but I mean, with the exception of VR, everything feels kind of real nowadays. If you play a game like, I don't know, Uncharted, you feel like you're actually part of the game. But I mean, if it's real 4K, obviously it will look better, and with better hardware it will run better, so it will look and feel more real. And I think that's what gamers are really crying out for a game to look and feel as real as the real life without actually having to be in the real world. Right. Right now, apparently, well, I read up somewhere that PS4 Pro uses AMD chips, and someone said that they might not be using them in PS5. That's if this thing actually goes ahead, like I keep saying. But they might not be using AMD, they might be switching, and it doesn't say what they might be switching to. But if they do use AMD, it's probably going to be their new Zen processor that hasn't actually been revealed yet. It gets revealed this year. All we know of it now is their name, which is the Zen processor. Yay. Sounds very Zen, I guess. But me, myself, I'm a fan of Intel. I'm not really the biggest AMD fan. I mean, again, there's probably no difference between them. It's just I'm just very petty when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah. So hopefully we'll find out more about that sometime this year. What else? Right, we're getting to the real power and stuff. PS4 Pro has 4.2 teraflops of power, and whereas the Xbox Scorpio, they say it has 6 teraflops of power. I mean, to me this genuinely means nothing. They both probably again play the same. I haven't got my hands on a Scorpio or a PS4 Pro yet, but you know, they're probably both exactly the same. And I read something, a man called Gary Cerny, probably butchering that name. He says that he believes you need at least 8 teraflops of power for true 4K. Like, what we have now isn't 4K, but you need 8 teraflops for it to actually play in 4K. And here's the thing I couldn't find, right? Here's the next part. RAM. Every system of PS4, PC, Xbox 360, whatever, all has RAM, obviously. And but I can't find anywhere any information about PS5's current RAM, what it's going to have for RAM. But the consoles we have now, the next gen, well I guess it's kind of current gen now, the Xbox One and PS4, and PS4 Slim, they have 8 gigs of RAM, which, I mean, it's good for the games we have now, it's fine, it runs perfectly. But, I mean, in 2.5 years when this thing is apparently going to be released, if we don't have more than, I'm going to guess 16 gigs, I'm going to guess the minimum is going to be 16 gigs of RAM. Because if you wanted to play a game in full 4K with all that teraflops of power, you're going to need at least 16 gigs of RAM. But yeah, I can't find anything about how much RAM it's supposedly going to have. So I mean, I don't know. Guess we'll find out. Next point was, yeah, I found a source and it said that Sony are planning to release in 2018. Was it 2018? Yeah, they're planning on releasing a 10 teraflop PS5. PS5? I don't know, PS4, I might have that wrong, but yeah. 10 teraflops is apparently what the Nvidia GTX 1080 graphics card uses right now. That's how much power it has right now. And was actually 10.8 teraflops, but that card costs more than a console on its own. You know, it's like $500 for that thing. I mean, I'm running a 1060 right now, and that thing costs like 300 quid on its own. Yeah, so no. I mean, it's ridiculous how much it costs. It's one part of a PC, and it costs as much as someone else's console. Like, it just proves how much. I mean, I prefer console personally. I prefer console because I've played on console a lot longer. I've only just got my gaming PC last year. But I still prefer console, but I will gladly admit that I know PC gaming is a lot better. PCs are a lot more powerful than consoles, obviously, they just are. Right, next thing on my list was, yes, by 2020, when this console's meant to be released, all digital content will be presented in 4K resolution. By the time PS5 releases in 2020, everything from TV, movies and stuff will be in this ultra high resolution. That's literally what I wrote down. I just read that out like it was part of a brochure, but okay. And that was it. That's the next part. Right, rumours, again, more rumours, because there's no solid evidence yet. That's, say by 2020, in 2.5 years, that we'll be looking at having 40 terabyte hard drives, and maybe the same size external hard drives. So, I mean, if you're running out of space, you can just go and buy one from, like, PC World, stick it in, then you'll never run out of game space. Well, to be fair, if you're running games at 4 full K, then you're probably going to run out of hard drive space pretty quickly. I mean, that's probably going to take up a lot of space. I mean, games now, just an example, on my Xbox I have Halo 5, and that is taking up about 97 gigs, and then obviously there's always updates for it, so 97 gigs on a game that's in 1080. If you imagine playing that on a PS5, not Halo obviously, like Call of Duty on a PS5 in full 4K, that's probably going to be a few hundred gigs just for one single game. So that's a bit ridiculous, but I mean, yeah, you never know. Also, people think that games are no longer going to be on disc, like, at all. I know that was rumoured a bit when the Xbox One and PS4 first released, but never actually came to be. But apparently, every source that I've seen says that every single game is going to be digitally downloaded. Because, and to be fair, they gave no reason why. It was just, they are going to be digitally downloaded, and there's nothing you can do about it, basically. Don't be a bitch and moan about it, just get on with it. I mean, everything is going digital, so I'm thinking it's going to eventually stop. Like high street shops, like, you're not going to have the Game Store anymore, GameStop. You're not going to have those because it will all just be online. you know, and it's eventually going to happen to everyone. Like in the town I live in, every shop is basically closed down, and everything's just online now. Anything you want, you just buy online. 5 seconds on the computer, you've got it. Anyway, moving on. Cross-platform is the big one. Everyone wants cross-platform. Personally, I don't want cross-platform, because I think you have it now with things like Rocket League, which I've never played. Doesn't interest me. But yeah, you have it now, but I'm not really a fan, because PC is always going to have the edge over console. We know that, because it's more accurate with a mouse than you are with a controller with thumbsticks. It's just not. It's not. I mean, again, I saw people from quite high up in some companies saying that it will probably be on every game will probably have cross-platform now, and yeah, well, not now. When the new consoles are released in a couple of years, every game will apparently have cross-platform. Even things like Call of Duty and like Halo and stuff like that be cross-platform. Actually, no, not Halo, because it's Microsoft exclusive unless they finally release it on PlayStation, which I hope they don't. Because I've got a PS4, but it just sits in the corner gathering dust. I'm not a big fan of it, to be fair. Last time I played it was about 3-4 weeks ago, when I took it to college so someone could have a go on a game. That was it. If you didn't know, I'm studying game design, so, you know, it's nice to have all the consoles that you can play them on and test things on. Right, and the last thing I wanted to talk about was backwards compatibility. Woohoo! I hear you cheer, but, I mean, it's a big deal. Who doesn't want to play their old PS3 games, PS4 games on a PS5, huh? Except there's no point, because, yeah, if you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, there is no point. If you're playing an old PS3 or PS4 game on a PS5, there's going to be no point. There really is going to be no point, because it's going to be running at the old style graphics. Like now, if you play an old 360 game backwards compatible on an Xbox One, it still runs as it did on the 360. 30 FPS, looking a bit choppy, a bit crap. But yeah, I mean, no one cares because they're playing their old favourite games. But, I mean, in 2020, gaming's going to be massive. I mean, it's massive now. But when you've got consoles that run at full 4K, all this power and stuff like that, if you want to play a backwards compatible game, you're going to want it to play how the new games play, you know, 60 FPS or whatever we have then, you know, in like full 4K graphics. So every game will probably have to be remastered again. And remastering a game is no small deal. It's pretty tough. I mean, coming from experience, I study game design now, and I'm making a 2D platformer, and yeah, that's quite difficult to make. All the coding, all the actual visual elements, you got to design them yourself. Like it's gonna be. I can imagine how hard it is to recode a game and like reanimate. Where did I get that from? Remaster a game, but we never know. But yeah, that's just a few things I could find out about PS5. I mean, there's probably more out there, and if I find out any real solid evidence about it, then I'll let you guys know. But I think that's it for today. That's probably the most I've ever spoke. Getting me used to doing commentary, and I know my voice is a bit dull, but I'll get there, don't worry. Yeah, if I let you know, if I find anything out about PS5 or Xbox, Scorpio, whatever, I'll let you know. Right now, I'm just going to go and delve into some more World of Warcraft, and probably go on the internet and try and find more stuff out about these new consoles, because I want to know more stuff, and I'll let you guys know. Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, if you got any questions or anything, feel free to ask in the comments. Just trying to think if there's anything I haven't covered. No, that's about it. I think I've covered everything on my list. Yeah, if you got any questions or any queries or anything, let me know, and I'll see if I can find out the answers for you. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.